Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. Well, according to a proverb, out of debt is out of danger. One can say then that an individual or a country in debt is in danger. A professor of political economy, Pat Utomi, has warned that Nigeria runs the risk of worsening economic situation and getting into another round of debt traps if it doesn't stop borrowing. Professor Utomi wondered why the government keeps borrowing from different places when the country doesn't have a national economic strategy. Lekon, according to the federal government, let's begin with this now. It says it is borrowing to build infrastructure and not recurrent expenditure. Now, what do you make of this position, amidst concerns of the country's rising debt profile?
First is a lie. They are borrowing to service debts. They are borrowing to fund recurrent expenditure. But let's even play the devil's advocate. Let's agree that it is true. Now, let's talk about railway line. You build railway line, you take a loan to build railway line. Rather than build railway line in Lagos, where I think about 30,000 people are moved in 1 hour. Is it 30,000 or 40,000 commuters in 1 hour? Mm-hmm. That is sustainable business right there. Wouldn't it be better for you to put let's talk about metro line. You put the Lagos metro line where you know that people will use it very well, and it will be easy for you to generate revenue above your repayment schedule, mm-hmm, as well as enough for you to be able to pay on time. That's one. Let's agree. I don't agree with them, but let's agree. Let's just, for this purpose, let's agree that number two is that we have a Minister for Finance and National Budget. And Budget and National Planning, who is completely invisible. Now, the governor of Central Bank, his job is to control inflation rate, exchange rate, interest rate. That is his job. He is the one running the economy. So the man is confused. He's doing several things at the same time. Somebody said that without proper macroeconomic policies, which Professor Utomi is talking about, everything that Mr. Godwin Emefiele is doing is just wind. It won't get anywhere. Now, let us say you build railway lines. To carry what? Let us say you build railway line that will get to farm gates so that you can take farm produce from the farms to Lagos, for example, where it is consumed. But there is no economic policy to ginger farming or agriculture. You have merely wasted money on that infrastructure. Let's talk about power. You invest money, you bring Siemens to come and install 25 is it megawatts? What do they call it?
Megawatts.
Yes, and you have it in place. And there's no economic policies to look, I worked in an industry. I was general manager of a textile factory, a medium-sized textile factory for 10 years. So I know how industry works. Then you have electricity, but the macroeconomic policies do not support industry going. You are wasting your time. You have just wasted money. So we need to get the macroeconomic policies right. It is either that woman wakes up and starts to do her job, or the president must look for somebody who will do this job. You have a presidential economic advisory committee, totally invisible. We don't even know what they are doing. Just last week or so, their chairman sent something to us. Half of it, I couldn't even understand it. I read it. I was like, look, and I can see frustration in the figures that they are sending out. They are saying something indirectly. And the president, I'm sure, I don't even know if he reads those things. Do you understand? So I don't see a coherent, a cohesive, purposeful macroeconomic policies of this government. The governor of Central Bank is going beyond his schedule. He's going beyond his brief. And he's confusing himself. He's doing the job of central banking. He's also doing the job of macroeconomic policies. He's unhinged. He's on his own. There's no policies coming from the Federal Executive Council to back up what he's doing. And then he's talking about Aboki FX as if that is the major thing. So there's so much confusion. There's no coherent macroeconomic policies. Once that is lacking, I don't care how much monetary policies he comes up with, they will not work.
But Jide, with this position put down by Lekon, what are your thoughts generally on what the country is experiencing at the moment, where our level of borrowing has risen to as high as 366% since 2015? What are your thoughts?
I think that we have to slow down. We've got to slow down. We can't continue like this. We can't just be borrowing money at the rate we are going. I've seen the WTO DG advise us that if we are not careful, we'll fall into another debt pit. I've had our own Akinwumi at ADB say the same thing. Frankly, it makes sense to listen to such people because they are very knowledgeable about these matters. People talk about our debt to GDP ratio. To talk about debt to GDP ratio as it affects Nigeria is to be dishonest. We should be talking about debt to revenue ratio because our revenue does not support our
borrowing
appetites for debt. If your debt service to revenue ratio is 98%, I don't know how to explain it. I'm not an economist, but these are issues that are
simple,
just commonsensical, so easy to understand. Just read it again, read it a second time, you understand. I don't see how that is sustainable. And that is what Dr. Doyin Salami said the other day. That's the man who heads the Presidential Economic Advisory Committee. But how many times do they invite them to make input about how we manage our economy? We do not see signs that such an illustrious team is being put to quality use. I do not see that sign. We have brilliant people who can advise. We just can't continue along this path. If right now, if between January and May, we had logged deficit at 53.8% or so, just in 5 months, 53.8% of what we budgeted for as deficit, that what we envisioned, that okay, in this budget, and already in just 5 months, we're already talking about overtaking half of what was budgeted. What was budgeted for for fiscal deficit. Then something is wrong. What would we be talking about by the end of the year, by December, for example, if by the end of May we had already passed the halfway mark? So this is the concern. We've got to energize the economy, cause growth to happen, do something better in the area of revenue generation, because we simply don't have the revenue. All the projections that you see in the budget, both the budget of last year and this year's budget, they have not been met from the revenue side. They are not being met. So something is wrong. Foreign direct investment is coming down. For the second quarter of this year, foreign direct investment stood at $875 million. That's the lowest since 2016. So it suggests that the sort of growth that we want to see is not happening. People say we must improve our tax base. If we improve tax base, of course it will help. Because right now, our tax base to GDP ratio is still around 7%. So we've got to do something along that line. But how do you tax people? How do you cause people to pay tax when the businesses are dying, businesses are not growing? Where are you going to find the people to pay the kind of quantum amount of money they are looking for by way of taxation when businesses are struggling, businesses are dying? See what forex volatility is doing to businesses in our country. I've said this before. The CBN governor can get his hands soiled doing things that he was not
assigned,
employed to do. But what is the level of success of even his so-called monetary policy? If you came in to office at a time when the dollar was exchanging to the naira at 165 naira to a dollar, and it's now around 575. Yesterday was 575. Can you believe that? So how does he tell us that his methods are working? You as an individual, you don't have to be the economist to know that the CBN's governor's methods are not working. Now it's the PDP that is telling us to sack the CBN governor. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It
is really worrying.
Our solution should be this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Food, clothing, and
shelter.
These are basic things. Let's feed ourselves first and reduce importation
of goods and services.
Of foods.
Right.
To start with. Food, clothing, and shelter.
But insecurity is getting in the way.
Exactly, that's where I'm going. And then agro-allied industry. That is the key to getting this economy back. And they just mounted. The governor of Central Bank is talking about anchor borrowers. We have given so many people.
But they are not paying. A lot of them are not defaulting. How will they pay? A lot of them are defaulting. That's the problem.
They can't pay. Like I said, the macroeconomic policies are not right. Nobody is thinking. Nobody is consulting the presidential economic advisory. Nobody is talking to them. I'm sure they are wondering, why did they hire us to come and do this job when they won't use? Have you observed that some of them go out on TV to talk individually? That tells you the level of
frustration.
I don't want to use the word idleness. You know.
No, but of course they have their own things that they are doing.
Yeah.
If you want to use them.
What I mean is that the job that you have asked them to do, you don't. So they now begin to talk about it on an individual level.
I need to hold your thoughts for now. We need to take this call. Larry from Ilorin, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good evening, Good
evening. Good evening.
I'm calling in respect of the issue in this right now. I believe actually the problem of Nigeria is far more than the issue of the president. I believe those people that are being scheduled to advise the president on the economy, they are all there and they are doing their best. But when what you are doing is not being appreciated, then people should leave. When they leave the government and they leave it for them, they know that what they are doing is wrong. That is my own opinion. They should try and go out when they see that the government is not listening to them. But when they are there and they are still there, then that means they are enjoying what they are being offered there. So at the end of the day, the blame is going to the president and will be on them too. So if they want to protect their integrity, they should please go out of the government and leave the government. Let them continue the way they want to. They will know that people are not happy with the way they are doing.
All right. Thank you so much, Larry, for your thoughts and contributions on the show. Well, we need to go on to our next issue of discussion. The Zulum hurricane continues to blow across Borno State in a bid to transform the state. Well, in one of its trademark unscheduled visits to public institutions. Governor Babagana Zulum called management of the Ramat Polytechnic Maiduguri napping. For the governor, discovered that virtually all the technical and mechanical workshops at various engineering departments and other teaching facilities at the institution were in deplorable condition, despite getting huge funds from the government. And the rector, Dr. Modu Kiari, has duly been suspended over poor management of the institution. Babajide, how do you react to this action? Do you think perhaps the governor is sending a strong message here? Well, what do you make of this?
Of course, it's always sent a strong message to people who work for him, to contractors. I've seen him storm a building site to look at the quality of building blocks that a contractor had on site. And being an engineer, it comes easy to him discovering where you've decided not to use the right materials and all that, and he will be destroying those things one by one. And he will tell them, look, I'm giving you another chance. I'm not going to revoke your contract, but I'm giving you another chance to make amends. Bring in the right quality of materials. If I come back here and you still haven't effected the changes that I asked for, then I will have no choice but to let you go. So for someone, this kind of leadership, this kind of style is really new to that state and to many states in our country. Governors hardly bother themselves to go from point to point trying to find out whether people are actually doing even the job for which they were engaged. Remember, on a particular night, he went to a state hospital, a specialist hospital in the state, and only a doctor hired by an NGO was on duty. He was very angry. He said they should fire everybody, you know. And I think invariably he relaxed the punishment. So from time to time, he enjoys going to these places. Sometimes schools, you go to a place very early to find out whether people who are reporting to work early enough. Remember the case of the Igbo woman. She was an early bird in the school where she had worked for 40 years.
Wow.
Yes. And the woman was duly rewarded by the governor, who promoted her to the rank of assistant head teacher. You know, she never knew she could rise to that level. I saw the woman, yes, I saw the woman the last time I went to Borno State. I interviewed her. So this is Zulum style. It's very unorthodox, very unusual, and this is one reason that a lot of people like him. This coup, and I could say that yes, he got extremely angry. Don't forget that he used to be the rector of this school. This was where Governor Shetima had hunted him and made him a commissioner. So he would not want to come back to such a school that he could say made him, and see that things were in such a terrible shape. So you could say that yes, he got too angry, but Ramat Polytechnic must be an emotive issue for him because he was the director for years. You know, so to go back to that place, you know, some form of homecoming, and then see that things had fallen apart, I could feel his anger. But you know, one can only appeal to the governor that it is not in all cases that you take extreme actions, you know. But it's someone who is never afraid to take the big decisions, as we have seen, even with places, dangerous places that I used to go to and try to confront Boko Haram and all that. But I can feel his anger, but I would advise that it's not in all cases that you take an extreme action. I read somewhere where they said, the governor said the place was in a deplorable condition despite huge amount of government funds injected. That could be another source of hunger that I think I've done enough.
For this institution?
Yes, for us to see changes at this institution. Where
did the monies go?
Yes, where did the money go? Which then means that it has to also investigate from top to bottom how the funds that were disbursed to the school were utilized.
Right. Lekon, with this move by the governor, do you think this is enough to spark any meaningful development in the state, for instance? Even though it might seem, well, he went there with some media and all of that. One could say, well, it's more of a show, even though it might be a style of scheduled visits. Do you think perhaps it will spark any meaningful development as well?
Actually, my initial reaction is just as you have said. I thought it was like a showboating, as far as I was concerned. You see, one, if it is true that they are actually sending so much money, what method of monitoring does that state have? The minister or the commissioner, for higher education, or whoever is in charge of that, that he's now being asked to sort of act now. He himself, is he complicit? Has he been monitoring activities of all the higher education institutions in the state? Is there a reporting system such that without the governor leaving his office, you get a daily report of what is happening? Money disbursed, was it spent? In government, when you go through the gamut of tenders board and the rest of them and all that, when you procure equipment, there's something called store receipt voucher. The store officers will receive that these items are being received into the store. When it is issued out, there's SIV, store issued voucher. So, and there are several copies of this. Where do they go? Where do the distribution of these things go? Does the commissioner even know that items that were ordered for have been received?
Or the PAMSEC.
Or the PAMSEC. You know, that is one. Another issue is this, that is it enough to just ask him to go home if indeed money has been sent to them, and there's no evidence of the money spent? Shouldn't somebody pay for this? Shouldn't somebody be prosecuted?
Of course.
Shouldn't the police be invited so that the rector should be handed over to the police and then taken to the court and prosecuted?
Yeah.
And if found guilty, dealt with. There has to be consequences. It's not enough to showboat and say, oh, wait, I sack him, and that. As well as that is not enough. That's showboating. Let's have concrete internal control system. Let's have strong financial control system. Let's have strong monitoring and reporting system all across. That's what is called corporate governance.
Right.
There has to be, and then there has to be consequences. If somebody now, how long has this man been rector? Maybe you need to go back. Maybe somebody else before him has even been playing games with these things. So they need to go and call him back and say, several years ago, money was given to you.
Yes.
for what happened? So it may not just be the current.
It may have been on for some time.
Yes. So there has to be a system.
I think that's the best thing to do. Let all the corporates pay for their sins, in inverted commas. I don't think it's the style of the governor to showboat. It's just someone in a hurry. He's put his life on the line. He had to be advised to stop going to Baga, for example, or by road, because he was going, he said, if I die, I die. You know? So, but given the nature of our country, the nature of even practices associated with civil servants, if you don't prosecute some of them, make examples out of them, not simply dismissing people, get them to face prosecution, this sort of thing will happen again.
Right.
So that's my own advice to the governor. There has to be a comprehensive investigation of the state of things in that school.
Right.
For how many years have things degenerated this much? Because this has been the way for a long time. Now, what should then be done to ensure that this sort of thing does not happen again? That the governor does not have to go there personally. A structure has to be put in place by way of monitoring development, so that the governor doesn't have to go there and physically see that the place is a mess.
Well, that's about where we can leave today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Thank you very much, Babajide, for your insights, and Lekon Shote, we appreciate your insights as well on the program this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of it. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program. And don't forget to join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Mopariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.